The late afternoon sun poured through the wide glass windows of the little bistro, painting the wooden tables in amber light. Ethan moved with quiet precision behind the counter, his sleeves rolled up, the faint aroma of garlic butter and thyme clinging to him. For a moment, the world was steady, dough rising under his palms, the hum of conversation filling the room, the hiss of the oven in the background. Then the piece cracked. A high, desperate cry cut through the air. Heads turned, some customers frowned, others whispered, but Ethan's attention locked on the source. Near the doorway, a young woman in a sleek navy suit shifted uncomfortably, cradling a red-faced baby who thrashed against her shoulder. Her gold earrings swung as she bounced awkwardly, murmuring words that didn't seem to help. The infant's wail only grew sharper, tugging at something raw inside Ethan's chest. He hesitated for a moment, his hands still dusted with flour. It wasn't his business, yet he remembered nights in a small kitchen years ago, when his own daughter's cries had been soothed by arms that weren't his, arms he had lost too soon. That memory made the choice for him. Wiping his hands, he approached slowly, cautious not to startle. Up close, he saw the woman's mask of control faltering. Expensive perfume mixed with the salt of her nervous sweat. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to apologize for the noise, but pride held her tongue. "Mind if I help?" Ethan's voice was gentle, steady, the kind of tone that had once calmed a colicky newborn in the dead of night. For a heartbeat, the woman froze. No one had spoken to her like that in years, without judgment, without calculation. Finally, her shoulders sagged. Wordlessly, she nodded and held the baby out, trusting a stranger because her own strength had run dry. Ethan gathered the child with ease, cradling her close. The baby's cries softened instantly, hiccuping into silence as he began to hum, rocking gently in rhythm. The woman stared, stunned, as if watching a secret language unfold before her eyes. The clink of pans and the soft rattle of utensils filled the small kitchen as Ethan carried the baby with practiced ease, one strong arm holding her close while the other reached for ingredients. The child's fussing quieted to curious little coos, her wide eyes following his every motion like he was performing a magic trick just for her. He set her carefully in a high chair tucked against the counter, a chair his own daughter had once sat in, its paint chipped from years of use. For a moment, his chest tightened, but he shook the ache away with a steady breath. He mashed ripe bananas until they turned to golden cream, then added a dash of warm milk and just a drizzle of honey. The mixture smelled faintly sweet, comforting, like something that belonged to childhood itself. The woman lingered in the doorway, her heels clicking softly against the tiled floor as she shifted her weight. She looked so out of place there, silk blouse, diamond watch, posture as rigid as marble. Yet her eyes betrayed her, following every move of his spoon as if she couldn't quite believe what she was seeing. Ethan tested the puree's warmth on the inside of his wrist, then turned to the baby with a spoonful. She opened her mouth eagerly, her earlier tears forgotten. The first taste made her squeal in delight, kicking her small legs against the chair. A laugh, pure, ringing, and contagious, escaped her tiny chest. The sound struck her mother like lightning. She gripped the doorway, swallowing hard, her throat burning with something she hadn't expected. Not envy, not pride, something simpler, something she hadn't felt in years, relief. Ethan smiled faintly, feeding another spoonful, his voice low and calm. "There we go, little one. Nothing fancy, just what you need." And in that moment, the kitchen wasn't a kitchen anymore. It was sanctuary. The woman stood motionless in the doorway, her manicured fingers tightening around the strap of her designer handbag. She should have felt embarrassed, maybe even insulted, letting a stranger step in where she had failed. But as she watched her baby giggle between spoonfuls of banana puree, something unexpected pressed against her chest. A pressure that rose, hot and sharp, until it reached her eyes. Tears. Real tears. She hadn't cried in years. Her mind slipped backward uninvited, to cavernous dining halls and cold marble floors of her childhood home. Nannies had fed her, tutors had lectured her, and her parents had signed checks from across the world. Smiles had been rare, hugs rarer. Love had always been something spoken about, not shown. And now, in her daughter's little life, she saw the same pattern repeating. Despite her wealth, her staff, her endless resources, she had been unable to give her child the one thing that mattered most: warmth. Ethan glanced up mid-spoonful, noticing the tears trembling in her eyes. His brow furrowed. I'm sorry. Did I cross a line? He set the spoon down, instinctively shifting the baby to rest more securely against him, as though shielding her from disapproval. The woman shook her head quickly, her voice catching. No, you didn't. She pressed a hand against her mouth, steadying her breath. I've just never seen her like this. She looks happy. Ethan looked down at the little girl, her face smeared with banana, her giggles tumbling like bells. He softened. Sometimes it's not about what we give them, he said quietly. Not toys, not money. Sometimes all they need is something simple, made with love. The words struck deeper than he intended. She flinched slightly, as if the truth had pierced through armor she didn't know she still wore. The bistro had emptied, leaving only the soft hum of the refrigerator and the faint ticking of the wall clock. The once bustling space now felt intimate, almost like a living room after a long family dinner. Ethan wiped down the counter slowly, though his eyes drifted more often than not toward the corner table, where the billionaire woman sat with her baby cradled against her shoulder. The little girl had drifted into sleep, her breath steady, her small hand still clutching the edge of Ethan's apron as if she refused to let him go. The sight stirred something in him, a mixture of pride and ache, because he remembered another child, another hand, one he could no longer hold. The mother broke the silence first. She traced the rim of her untouched coffee cup, her gaze lowered. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than he'd ever heard it. Would you teach me? Ethan straightened, unsure he'd heard right. Teach you. She lifted her eyes, no boardroom steel in them now, only raw honesty. Not just how to cook. Teach me how to care for her, the way you just did. I don't want her to grow up like I did. Her confession hung between them like fragile glass. Ethan felt the weight of it, the vulnerability from a woman who was used to commanding empires yet was admitting, here, she didn't know how to mother. He stepped closer, folding his flour-stained hands together. It's not complicated, he said gently. Start with the basics. Bananas, warm milk, patience. He smiled faintly. And love. A lot of love. Tears slid silently down her cheeks as she nodded, whispering, thank you. In that quiet bistro, two broken lives touched at their rawest edges, and unknowingly began blending into something whole.